UNPAVED, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.
To me, Tom Brady is the GOAT because he's done more with less than any player at that position we've ever had.
Probably do that. Welcome in, guys. So much to discuss today after the Super Bowl. I'm Sean. Adam Sager. Let's bring him in right now and bring in JB as well. At the real coach _JB and Adam Sager. We'll start this off post Super Bowl right off the bat. Segs, good to be with you.
Yes, sir.
Rating 1 to 10 Super Bowl performance, just overall the game. Segs, real quick, just a 1 to 10. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best.
3.5. I mean, I thought the defenses were good, but I thought a lot of it was just the quarterback sucking, missing throw after throw after throw. I don't know. I mean, I was disappointed in the game. So 3.5, I guess.
Would caution people to be aware that Drake May will be back many times. Call Dan Marino and ask him how that went. Dan will tell me. We talk about it often. It's not easy to get there. He's just fortunate to get there in his second year. It looked, JB, to me, and welcome in, Coach JB, get his show every single day. It looked to me that the initial onslaught of hitting him, and I think he's going to be a hell of a player, finished second in the MVP voting, great year. This can be a big learning experience as long as it doesn't fester and you wilt because of this. You got your ass kicked by a really good defense, and that's just the way it is. If he uses it to his benefit, which is easier for us to sit here and say than done, because it's ruined careers when you come out and have a bad one. But I think he's mentally tough enough. I can tell you this: the onslaught of pressure early, and the change up by Mike McDonald, brilliant game plan, proved that an under talented, a good team, but not overloaded on the perimeter with great skill set. They hit him early, changed it up, rush 4, blitzed Witherspoon. I mean, they did a great job of mixing, and by then, I think he was overwhelmed out midway through the first quarter with all the hits he was taking. And listen, it happens to all of us. It can be a problem. It looked and it was obvious in this game. JB, 1 to 10. What do you think about the performance of the Super Bowl, both teams, and your initial takeaways?
Oh man, 1. Super Bowl last couple of years have been horrific. It's getting worse and worse, man. American sports are dying. I've been saying it for 4 years. I think they may be dead. Listen, other than Kenneth Walker minimizing what Sam had to do, and Sean, you know better than us how that plays a role. 15 throws against San Francisco. The game was never within 21 points. They didn't need to throw him the foot. They didn't need to throw the ball. I argued with Sean King on my show this morning, and Braden Fajoko. What did he have to do? He didn't turn the ball over. He threw a touchdown, and he managed the game. So why is that different than what Jalen Hurts did last year? Like, I don't understand why everyone, Kenneth Walker's the MVP, so Sam Darnold's horrible. He's won 30 football games in 2 years, and he's a Super Bowl champ now all of a sudden when everybody wrote him off because he went to the Jets and the Panthers. And I said, wait till he gets to a competent roster. Look what he did in Minnesota. How did Minnesota do this year without him? I'm just telling you, this guy's figured it out. And, Sean, you should be happy as a lark. I mean, he's the first Trojan to win a Super Bowl, get over the hump. That's a hell of a stat. I'm surprised as hell. I thought that was fake. All the great quarterbacks that's come out of there, Sean, and yourself included, how this is the first guy to win one with Carson Palmer's and the Leinerts, and the list goes on and on. We could talk about Sanchez, made a deep run, but never can get over the hump. It's surprising at a place like SC, this is their first Super Bowl champ, but I guess it's really spread out, and you probably can find that with a lot of schools that have never won a Super Bowl, because you just said it. Dan Marino couldn't get back. And it's not easy. So I thought he did a hell of a job. I thought he had some critical drop balls early. And you know as well as I do, Sean, you drop a ball early and it deters you at the QB spot from throwing it in the same type of spot or making the confidence deteriorate a little bit. And I think that kind of cost him a little. But other than that, I don't think he could have played much better because he didn't have to do much. We've seen, Sean, you've seen guys force it and throw pick sixes and lose the game. He didn't do that. By the way, 0 turnovers, Sean, in 3 playoff games. 0.
Yeah, and so here's what I don't want to hear, and if I do, and then we have the exact battle, fight back, and counterpoint to it. One is the game wasn't overly entertaining if you're an offensive fan. Yeah. The things that I talked about on this show last week, and Segs, when you teed up, 3 things I said had to happen if you're going to win a Super Bowl. Quarterback got to protect the ball. The guy that wears number 14 in Seattle did that without making the critical error. You scored a touchdown, had a chance to come back, and Drake May threw a ball down the middle of the field late where 3 guys were on it, and it was a critical mistake. That's 1. 2 is you must run the football series-wise. Made the line of scrimmage, and Kenneth Walker was damn good. His patience as a runner and his ability to get to 60 miles an hour in a hurry, underrated running back. And we've seen performances, Timmy Smith in Washington, guys that aren't named LaDainian Tomlinson and Marshall Faulk and Marcus Allen. This was a guy who you knew he had to play well, but you thought, okay, if he gets 75 yards on 18 to 20 carries and the run game has 32 carries, good. He was phenomenal in the ball game. And then third, you got to control the line of scrimmage. And while Darnold got hit, his ability to step out of trouble early extended some series, and then they sewed it up with play action and protected him better as the game went on. The other one, they never adjusted. They got physically manhandled by the Seattle Seahawks front 7, a brilliant game plan mixed with blitz and zone by Mike McDonald's defense, and then they got the turnover. This is one of them. Ball lays on the ground. You got an interception. You got a bunch of 3-and-outs early. Everything you need to win the Super Bowl, they did. Because the quarterback wasn't spectacular, just stop it. You can't speak out of one side of your mouth if you're talking to JB. I think that's what you mean. Telling me that there's the game manager part mixed in. The fucking game manager went 3 games in the postseason and won a Super Bowl without turning it over. Take that game manager right to the doggone Hall of Fame with a Super Bowl ring and a Super Bowl thing that's going on. I'm not saying Darnold had a Hall of Fame performance, but he had the right play at the right time without throwing it to the other guy. And then they ran the ball and played physical on the point of attack offensive line, and their defense mauled the New England Patriots offense. So if you liked old school, this looked like, as most Super Bowls end up doing, if you can't block on the edge, and 2 rookie offensive linemen became a problem, as we know that's a problem. But if you can't block at a Super Bowl, you end up getting beat. If you can't tackle, you end up getting beat. So all the new bells and whistles and pomp and circumstance, winning Super Bowls go back. Play defense, run the football effectively, and have a quarterback that protects it. And you usually will win those. Hell, the Super Bowl, you don't need 400 yards passing by the guy. Ask Brady. He threw for 505 and lost to Philadelphia over 500. So to me, I don't know. Everybody has a narrative to what it is. And yes, Jalen Hurts hit a couple throws in last year's Super Bowl. Great. And did it and deserves all the credit he wants. But I call it supply and demand. Darnold didn't need to throw it for 460 in the game. He didn't need to throw it for 500. He didn't need to throw it for 380. What he needed to do is make a clutch 3rd down throw, buy time, scramble for a 1st down, and then when necessary, make the right throw at the right time on the touchdown pass to get him there and to extend the lead. And now you can turn your friggin' defense loose, JV, on them, because now you know they have to throw. And Segs, I also mentioned JV, one dimension. The problem is New England had no dimension offensively last night. None. And in truth, there would have been better matchups offensively. I'm not hating on New England. I'm just saying the overall skill set on both sides, they were out-coached, out-executed, and they were out-boxed. Not just heavyweight fight where you throw haymakers, out-boxed tactically, and the Seattle Seahawks put it on them last night. And it felt that way, even though like the first few field goals to get up, you're like, this doesn't feel right. And you knew one big play could change it for New England, but it never got to that point. Even
could have been 28-0.
Yeah. Right.
It could have been 28-0 at halftime. It could have been a very easily 28-0 football game at halftime.
And I hated and JB, I hated They came out dropping straight back and try to set up, instead of get the ball out with some quick stuff early to get the defensive front seven of Seattle maybe on their heels a little bit. You played right into there. And Josh McDaniels is one of the great offensive coordinators we've ever had. Mike McDonald he had everything done right last night in that football game. And if it wasn't for Drake May's big touchdown pass there, the first one, make a great throw, hell, it's even worse than it looks now. It was an ass kicking by Seattle, regardless of the score.
Yeah, I don't think they had it. I don't know why, and I'm not going to question McDaniel either. We've questioned him as a head coach, and we know as a play caller he's great and one of the best ever. I don't know why they never did anything. I would have ran at the rush where they needed help with the left tackle, the young pup kid who was getting killed on just straight drop back. Why would you just set up and try to drop back? And this guy was getting pummeled. I would have helped him with some tight end plays, some boot nakeds. His booth coaches, to me, didn't help him at all because they were screaming down the line of scrimmage with no, a boot count quarterback reverse guy. They had nobody on the backside, BCCR guy. They had nobody, and I don't know why they didn't run a reverse or anything to slow down the rush to help that young left side in New England, who's promising. They're going to be good, but they needed some help last night against that front seven. And I said, where was the screens? Get those guys up the field and then have to retrack and retrace and tire them out. I didn't see any of that. Usually you think that would be in the game plan or at least a contingency plan, Sean, to sprint it out that way, get the back on the edge, make sure the guy's fighting the double or the reach. There's no reach blocks he had to fend off. He had no friction over there. I would have even ran a couple speed options at him. Drake May's good enough athlete to run some speed option.
I needed his legs more in that game last night.
Yeah, he led the league in rushing as quarterback. I think he averaged 37.5 yards a game rushing the football in some sort of ad-lib run or whatever. So he's clearly athletic enough. I don't know why they didn't do more to attack that side because you don't run away from superior rushes. You run at them. And they found out the hard way, and it is what it is. New England needs some pieces, obviously, to compete against an NFC team.
I love Vrabel, and Vrabel will fix this. They're in the Super Bowl in his first year there. So
yeah, he's mad right now this morning. You know that.
He should be. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. He doesn't, because they were actually embarrassed all the way through at times. It looked like they were prepared, but they were ill. I mean, hell, and it's a good point by Mike, if Christian Gonzalez doesn't make a few plays, this game's pushing 40 points by the Seattle Seahawks. Coach JB at the Real Coach _JB with us now. Adam Sager at Adam G. Sager on Twitter. I'm at Sean Unfiltered. Like and subscribe. We'd appreciate YouTube and Rumble. JB, are you shocked at how many professional teams have trouble? I'm not even just talking about the confusion up front and who to block, who to get and how to get them, is how often we miss free runners, either at protection or a quarterback or a receiver not understanding side adjustment rules. Have we taken that out of them? We get too many people just trying to beat the blitz with the throw as opposed to knowing where it's coming from and either changing the protections or I always find it fascinating. You point to a guy, and then when the ball snapped, your head goes opposite where you pointed. You don't even take a peep at where the hot read or side adjustment is, depending on, and for anybody knows, hot read for linebacker, side adjustment, secondary blitz when we're blitzing off it. I just don't understand when you don't have enough to block them. One is with your play calling, why isn't it built in the quick game? I think McDaniels missed that opportunity. But I'm shocked at how many NFL players miss the basics of the mental approach to a side adjustment or hot read and don't know why they're doing it.
We failed the young quarterback. I've been saying it for years. We failed him at high school and college because we run tempo, Stephen A. Smith's face on a card and run the play. Don't run it in. Don't have to give him the protection anymore. Now the protection is what? Orange. They don't know what that means. Yellow. They have no idea. They just tell them the quick call. So in college we can tempo and run fast pace with athletes, and then they get to the NFL and you're seeing the quarterback product being horrific. And it's coming down to now, Sean, we have no clue if there's more athletes in the secondary than normal, meaning there's less linebackers, more DBs. Guess what? We got to watch out and have our alert should be ticking in our head.
You mean Witherspoon playing over the slot and coming 4 times in the first 12 minutes of the game?
So we don't account for the nickel safety. We're not accounting for the extra nickel safety to the boundary, and we're not picking that up no more. Like, what are we doing? And he's getting hit and not having an answer on the front side of the play. Sean, sometimes we get into radar protection and we're in empty or something, and we have to pick or choose. Okay, we're gonna take. I know this guy's free. I'm gonna wait for him, and I got a designed answer.
But you know where the problem is. JB, I'm a big believer in find the conflict. Once I know the conflict, I have answers for the test. I can't give you the answers to the test if I don't understand the conflict or the concept of what we're trying to get across. And Mike or somebody talked about snap count. JB, you can even allude to this as well. Young players, and I won't speak for Drake May, but it does happen. Even veterans get caught up into it. We all do. Down set, white 80 hut, down set, white 80, white hut. We get into a rhythm of a game because you want the playoff. You realize that, oh my gosh, you're not using it to your advantage. Now, you'd be an idiot to at the 7-yard line or at the 2-yard line go hard count, and your guy jumps off, and now you're at the 7. You'd be an idiot not to use hard count at your own 2-yard line, trying to get an extra free 5 yards because a half a yard or a yard isn't affecting you. You're already backed up. But using them both, but we have failed them, JB, because my whole thing is I understand you can see the cosmetic side of what they're doing, but do you know the heart and soul of why coverages and fronts go together? And I think it's a real problem. I do. I think we're taking high school concepts and throwing them into the NFL because that's what guys have learned. And instead of making the guy be a studier or understand what the coach, I wonder how many NFL quarterbacks can call a game without a coordinator present. Can you? I know Manning could. I know my guy Warren Moon could. I know I could. Can you call a game? I always say if you can't call a game, now it may not be as rhythmic as the other guy, but if you can't be comfortable enough getting your team in and out of formations, protections, and understanding without a coordinator calling a game, you haven't done enough to understand what we're trying to accomplish. And it looked to me like New England's offense was AAA last night playing against Seattle.
Yeah, it's been that way too, Sean. I don't know. You know, I got one reason why that it could be. I know for a fact it is, but we don't go under center enough. So in the gun, you can yell white 19, hut, and you can lift your foot 1,000 times. It don't mean shit to a D lineman. They're not moving because the gun. We know the ball has to be snapped under center with my voice and the capabilities of taking a snap when you jump across and taking a shot, free shot. Is instrumental to the development. We're not under center enough. This is Drake College, shotgun, mesh read, RPO, and it's costing them in the NFL level against freaks of natures who can rush the passer, and no O-line in America history can defend athletes that D linemen are. If you know the count and you're jumping it and we're not switching it and we're not getting under center, and we're not running anything under boot nakeds or control.
We're not changing protections because of defense audibles too, folks. You do something, they counteract because they're smart, and you got to counteract that in the time you have. That's why get your ass to the line of scrimmage and give them time to execute and work where everything's not rushed. JB and Segs, you chime in on this too. Is there a chance, and it can happen, but Drake May, who I'm very fond of and hold in high regard, and I know you do too, the way he throws the football, JB, and it can be a great learning experience, as I mentioned at the beginning. He did not have a good postseason. He did not in any of it. He makes some spectacular plays. Is there a chance, if there's fragility involved with him, if he's fragile, that this can be a negative going forward? Or do you expect him to spin it as a positive? Which one do you expect more of, I guess?
The fragility, because this is the generation that these kids are. They're so entitled and enabled. We've enabled them. Instead of coaching them, we allow them to do what they want. So coach, I can't run that. I need to run RPO. And then the coach
more afraid of hurting their feelings than coaching them.
Now, Vrabel is one guy I wouldn't mind having as that leader. So make sure that don't happen with the kid. But if that kid's embedded in him in high school and college already, it's hard to break that. You know how hard it is to break a quarterback's throwing motion if he's already in year 4. We're not going to try to do it. We don't have enough time in the offseason, right? Lamar Jackson's kind of stuck in his ways because we can't go break his bad habits and fundamentals. Jalen Hurts got on top of it early, but he wasn't that far off. So they fixed him kind of quickly, and his mechanics got better from year 1 to year 2. Now it's just the fact that whatever else is playing a role in him and being accurate and so on, that's another issue. But at least mechanically, they fixed Jalen. I don't know if you can get into a kid's head after he's been 3, 4 in high school, 4 in college, and he's stuck in his ways, and now we're mentally weak. That's this generation. I'm afraid that's the problem. It's more of a generational thing with these kids because we're so scared to coach them now because of NIL and transfer portal that we're worried about them in the NFL now stuck in their ways. How are you going to break it? They already got $100 million bag. He's going to get He's going to get paid. And I don't know if any AFC team would have Denver made it. They would have got waxed too. Like, I'm going to be honest, there's no AFC team this year that could have played against the Rams, the Seattle Seahawks, or probably even the Bears, or the final 4 teams that were left on the NFC side. I think all 4 of them win the Super Bowl this year.
And
So,
Segs, go ahead, JB, finish. I'm sorry.
no, that's all I'm saying. I just think that this is we've hit a critical mass with these kids. Like, you're either going to coach it or allow it, and we've allowed it far too often, and I think it's hurt us.
Yeah, no doubt. Segs, you approach it a little different. JB and I have coached it, and you coach it with your sons and younger, but at a different level. But no football and no sports. From your vantage point, watching Drake May last night, just as a fan and a guy who does this show and knows football, if I were to talk to you at halftime, what would you have told me about him?
Just basically what we talked about in our text. I mean, he looked like he was seeing ghosts. Remember, Sam Darnold was the guy who was seeing ghosts early in his career. It felt
you start
like
chasing a ghost and you start borrowing trouble that's not there after those initial hits.
Yeah, and then his throws that he made all year, and it goes back, JB brought it up multiple times throughout the season. The schedule they played was garbage all year long, and everybody's like, oh, well, it's the NFL. It's the NFL. Well, no, he got into the playoffs and faced 4 good defenses, and he played like shit in 4 games. And I know he doesn't have pieces around him that are great, but if you're going to be an MVP type player in the regular season, you got to show up in the postseason.
But Mina picked him.
Didn't. Yep.
Shags, Mina had him as MVP though.
She picked him, so it must be right. But no, I mean, I'm glad he didn't win MVP after seeing this postseason. Can you imagine saying like, because that's the guy that's the MVP when Matt Stafford's out here doing what he did all season long against one of the toughest schedules we've seen.
What he thought against that same Seattle team, by the way, he dominated them. Stafford literally dominated him. No turnovers, 850 yards. I mean, look at 8 touchdowns. He dominated Seattle, and that's a great defense, and he dominated them. So he's the MVP. I'm with Randy Moss. I'm with Randy and everybody, and I don't know what Sean thinks, but I'm glad he called her out without saying her name. Like, we gotta vote. Voters that are the guys voting need to be players. Come on, what are we doing?
There's absolutely no doubt, and Stafford deserved the MVP award, and it goes along with. And we'll get to it a little later on. Segs, JB, I know you got stuff to do. Let me finish with this. Let's have a little fun. And I did watch Bad Bunny at halftime for one reason, because I wanted to know what I was going to talk about when somebody brought it up, what I saw that they didn't. If you like, what do they call that? When it's, and I don't know if it's called a quinceañera. Is that where people are excited? They're celebrating the daughter. You'll see them like in movies.
That's the 15. Right? That's the
15-year-old. It's almost kind of like your introduction into adulthood, right? Isn't that kind of what it is? Is that what it kind of basic? But now listen, we can argue all we want. I'll just say one thing. There was energy. Now, if kids are watching and you're grabbing your nuts and cupping your package and stuff, I would imagine your young ones tuned out. And then you got the guy standing behind him or cupping package, and but there was energy. But that being said, I speak, some Spanish growing up in the mean streets of Esco, which you guys wouldn't have a fucking clue about because you're from the country club world. But listen, if you could get the trifecta, born in the LBC, grew up in the mean streets of Esco, where you don't want to come on those side of the tracks unless you're ready for an ass whooping. You don't want any part of that. And third, went to USC where, tough times had by all around the campus there. I mean, you got it. So you two guys that grew up in country clubs and playing at the Cog Hill Country Club and LA Riviera Country Club, both of us playing on dog tracks in high school, worrying going to school every day with your backpack. Somebody's going to try to bust a cap in your ass. All that, but you guys wouldn't know anything about that about the energy and having to deal with it all. But I'm from the mean streets, and judging from what I saw, I didn't know how to take that halftime show, and I don't know any of his music because, especially in Spanish, I couldn't follow along. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it wasn't for me. other than there was a good vibe of energy, and you want to get after that, and you're at a party with all your Latina friends and your Puerto Rican. I love it. Fine. But this was a halftime show. Do you guys think anything different? Because I know love's more powerful than hate, as you guys know. And that's the message Bad Bunny was trying to get across.
I like the two guys that were grinding on each other. That was nice.
Yeah, did that make you horny when they were up there on the stage? Yeah. And by the way, I guess the people that were getting married actually were getting married in real life.
Yeah,
Their
right here.
marriage
This
was
is
real.
great. This
Yeah.
is great. This is a great one.
Yeah, did that make you horny right there, JB?
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, now I gotta watch it. I didn't watch it. I was live on another episode, on another platform during halftime. But listen, I had a house full of people. Some people watched it, most didn't. But you could tell the younger guys watched it. The older guys could care less. And I had an NFL D tackle here, Sheldon Day, who actually did the show with me, and he didn't watch it. And it is what it is. I guess listen, turn it off if you don't like it. Keep it on if you want. I don't know.
That's the point, right?
It's just
I just wanted to know what everybody was going to talk about. I wouldn't go to. I'm not a Bad Bunny guy, and I
never knew he was. I didn't know he was. I did not know who he was.
I'm not going to his concert. Turn it off. There's plenty of people at your party. You talk to them. You don't have to watch the shit. Do something else.
Brandon Fajoko, national champ, came on the show today and was like, he's not no A-lister. We didn't even know who he was. I get all the streaming numbers and all the social media platform, but that's what we have become. The Drewskis of the world and all these guys are social media guys. They're nobodies. Nobody know who they are. They didn't play. They didn't coach. They didn't do nothing.
So we're calling this guy. I guess, are you an A-lister if you perform at halftime of a Super Bowl, right? That's what they say?
You're supposed to be.
Yeah, right. An A-lister where?
Did he become like this A-lister just because of the NFL promotion of the last 2 months or 3 months since they announced him? Because that's all I knew him from. I never heard of him.
Same.
I mean, I know.
You
better learn Spanish, Sean. You better learn Spanish, though, if you want to watch my show.
Well, I do know Spanish, but not to the point where he's singing it so fast. I can't. My version, my brother's fluent Spanish, Portuguese. And so, but, growing up at the mean streets, which, again, you guys wouldn't know anything about. And then when you got to take your team from the mean streets, go into Torrey Pines where all the money is in Del Mar, and a prevailing wind's in your face, and you got to take a curveball that hangs in a cement mixer and hit it like 450. JB, you know about that story, as I want to remind you. And then worry that somebody's going to try to take you down because you're opening up a can from the mean streets. That being said, I know Spanish, but not well enough to sing the damn song in Spanish. You know what I mean?
I
mean, it's like if I sit here and call you a pendejo. You know what I'm saying? You know what that means? I can find the cuss words.
Right. I know. Yeah. Hey, I guess the girls were cool to look at and all that. And I listen, who's going to go watch them in the concert? They're only going to go parking lot pimp it, like as you would say back in the hood. I would just parking lot pimp it because all the girls in the parking lot afterwards. But I mean, listen, it is what it is. I can't believe it. But I think we missed a huge thing. I think
Metallica would have been nice there, man. We
talked about it on our show though, Sean. They missed last year with Kendrick Lamar, who's a Compton native.
No doubt.
But Louisiana, you have a hell of a Louisiana to draw from for performers. San Francisco, you had the Bay Area, Too Short, E40.
How both of those guys? Wouldn't it have been great to have them and Metallica take the stage together? And collab together. That would have been cool.
About uniting the country, then guess what? You do rap, you do some country, you mix it up with some Bay Area legends.
Hardcore rock, like old school rock, no doubt.
But now
get it all, new and young both. Right? We've missed the opportunity the last couple Super Bowls. I don't know who Bad Rabbit is very much. I haven't been to a concert, but there was energy.
Big Bunny, Big Rabbit, whatever his name is.
Yeah. There you go.
It is.
I watched it. I thought it was all the same song the entire time. That's what it sounded like for the most part. I didn't know unless Lady Gaga was singing something different. I thought it was all one song.
Segs, when you come to the mean streets, we'll teach you where the break-off point is, where it hits into a new cut, okay? I know you're a little afraid to roll up at Esco. JB, every time he comes down there, he rolls right by my place, but doesn't stop because he's on I-10. He doesn't take the detour to get into Esco to drive in up, Highway 15, 163. He just heads down to 10 to get to Scottsdale because we know what's going on in Scottsdale. That's where the country club life is. But don't worry about me, JB. It's all right. Don't get scared rolling up in the mean streets, man.
I know it was a horrible
bad game offensively. It was a bad game unless you're a defensive coach. You didn't like that one.
the Super Bowl period is just losing luster. I don't know. That's the largest event, one single day event. We watch every year, and it should be a holiday today. A lot of people treat it as so, but damn, football the last couple of years.
Yep. JB, I'm going to let you go on this. I'm watching yesterday, and I watched all 4 rounds, and you guys know my affinity. I love golf. I'll watch LPGA, Korn Ferry Tour. So I picked Matsuyama at the beginning of the tournament on Wednesday of last week, and so he's winning. But I'll tell you, you talk about the luster of the Super Bowl. I wake up, I'm watching take the dogs walk, preparing food. You're doing all that during the day. That tournament ended because of the extra hole right around the start of the Super Bowl. I didn't watch any pregame show. I was so immersed into watching Matsuyama and then Goddard up in the one-hole playoff, but Scheffler charging, Chris Goddard up the eventual win. I know some of these names people don't understand. My point here is this, is that the Waste Management Phoenix Open kept my attention more than any pregame show would have. I didn't see, matter of fact, I didn't see the national anthem for the first time in 30 years at a Super Bowl. I don't even know who sung it yesterday, and if it was any good. So I led up to it. I was more intrigued with the golf at the Waste Management that bled into right around the start of the game than I was the game, which that should not be the case. I should have put that thing on tape and said, I'll catch up to the golf tournament later. And I didn't. The golf tournament actually gave me more thrills watching it down the stretch than the Super Bowl did. Not to take anything away from a guy, as you mentioned, JB, I couldn't be more proud of Sam Darnold and his resilience. And his best part of his game, aside from that great arm talent, is that he is mentally tough, or he wouldn't have been able to overcome what he went through. Drake May should actually talk to Darnold this offseason and say, you've been kicked in the teeth and left for dead by the football world. What do I need to do? Lean on that guy. So, JB, your parting thoughts before we let you go, buddy.
Yeah, I agree. They need to start doing some more self-scouting in football like we used to, like we were forced to do. Nowadays, they're so quick to go on a vacation, sign each other's jerseys, be cool with losing, and load managing in the basketball. That's why I'm saying American sports are dying, man, if not dead already. This is, again, I'm the only one that said if you put Sam Darnold around a competent roster, he'll be fine. Daniel Jones the same way. Put him around some competence. And now we're seeing it. And I don't know if Drake May falls in that category or not, but it'll be determined. He's only in year 2. Plays for a Super Bowl in year 2. But Burrow did the same thing and hasn't even been close since. So we've seen a lot of these guys that have been there early, and then it gets tough, man. This is a tough thing. I expect the AFC East to be better next year. So they're not going to have the same pass this year. Denver's going to be back, I'm sure. Kansas City, you know, who knows? But we'll see, man. Kubiak and the way that they approached this, I'll leave you at this. The way they approached the hire with the Raiders taking Kubiak was the right way to do it. And we've seen the wrong way. You waited and you didn't. There's no rush to get there. It's not college. You don't have to get in the portal. You don't have to sign guys. You got a scouting department already. So there's no rush to get there. They rushed to hire in Arizona years ago when the DC Gannon left and Andy Reid absolutely destroyed him. And you could tell he wasn't even all in with the Eagles defense. And the plan was horrible against Andy Reid, and they gas-citied him. And you've seen coaches leave too early in the past. I'm glad they did it this way. Hopefully that sets a trend. And we get better hires after and wait till the Super Bowl's over. And this is a good hire, but this is a 6th job in 6 years for Kubiak as well. So we'll see how it all works out. Hopefully that's a trendsetter going forward, and hopefully college can get their schedule right, a calendar right, and do the same thing. And so we don't see the Lane Kiffins of the world losing and leaving a playoff team. So football is upside down right now. Hopefully we can fix it.
At the Real Coach JB, at the Real Coach _JB, get his show every single day. Great stuff, brother. I'm glad you enjoyed it, what little we could defensively, and we'll do it again, man. Thanks.
No doubt. See you next week.
I appreciate you too, bud. Segs, for me, the one thing that, in the playoffs, he didn't play well, but it's easy to do. Trust me, this is not a knock. Drake May is going to have a lot of looking into his own soul over this, as is the team. We always go to the quarterback, which is not right.
Right.
They didn't block anybody. He didn't, and even when he had a clean pocket, he missed accurate throws. That he is one of the most accurate throwers, if not, he was at the top of the league in accuracy this year. Right near the top in accuracy. I mean, he is an accurate throw of the football. It's the first time I saw him look like he was overwhelmed, that this was the stage felt a little too big last night for him. I don't think that that's the case overall, I'm just talking about compartmentalize this game, and it's the Super Bowl. But the stage felt it started to look that way a little for Sam, and Sam almost reverted back to last year and said, okay, I'm not going there again in the playoff game, and got it fixed as he went on. And that's part of being a little bit of a veteran. It's the first time I saw Drake May, even though he didn't have great playoffs, I never felt he was overwhelmed. I thought his eyes were big, and it was that Brooke Trout look that he gave that I thought he knows that this is a different stage he's playing on, and they hit him from the get-go. He looked overwhelmed. He will get it fixed. I hope so, because it can take a nasty turn. The hardest thing this offseason is not going to be social media. Fuck social media and what they're saying. Right. Doesn't matter. The hardest thing for him is going to be to look into his own soul and say, what do I got to do when this presents itself again? So I play like I did in week 4, not in week 19 or 20, whatever we're in now.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it, it's hard to say, Drake May coming off this postseason after the incredible regular season, and what makes it so weird, I think, talking about Drake May moving forward. But it's the fact that he did struggle so much during the playoffs, but it took CJ Stroud historically bad game for them to beat the Texans. It took Bo Nix to break his ankle on the last play of the game before they faced the Patriots to get the Patriots to the Super Bowl. And then, yeah, you're right, coming out, he just looked overwhelmed from the get-go, and he was missing throws. And I thought at a point, too, Sam Darnold looked overwhelmed. They were both
especially early.
Yes, they were both missing throws. I'm talking like 5-yard outs. They were missing by 6 yards. They were missing guys deep. I mean, May had a chance to make a throw. I think it was in the third quarter. I'm not sure who broke up the field. And he
to the left side, he overthrew him by 15 yards.
Yes, he kind of avoided the rush, moved left, set his feet, and made a throw. And he overthrew him. But yeah, like you said, I mean, not even close. And those are the plays we were used to seeing Drake May make throughout the regular season. And then came the playoffs, and he just wasn't making those throws. He made 2 good throws yesterday. They were back-to-back, the one to Mac Hollins over the middle, which was his best throw. He threw it right over 2 linebackers.
Good drop
right in front of the, yes. I mean, it was a perfect throw. And then he comes back and throws the touchdown the very next play. Other than that, I mean, that interception you mentioned where he threw it over the middle, I don't even know who he was throwing to. It was
he had no business. There was nobody to complete the ball to.
Yeah, there was nobody.
The open receivers were the Seattle secondary. In truth, the coverage. Shags, I can tell you what happens, and then you get going. I've been in it, not in a Super Bowl, but in a playoff game where you get going and you feel good. Then all the thing, or in an important single elimination game to win the division, all that, and you're like, you get going, and then what happens? That leads to squeezing the ball a little bit more. That leads to, I got to get the ball out quicker because I'm taking sacks or pressures. And then that guy's not ready. And then you start yanking balls and start aiming them. And you're not just the thrower and the free will. And I understand the pressure that goes with it. If it was easy, there'd have been more than 2 doing it the rest. It's hard. And Darnold had that too. The difference was Darnold's seen the movie in a different way.
Yes.
Drake May has had, for the most part, nothing but success. He won the starting job as a rookie. He's in year 2, kicking ass. He's second in the MVP vote. I'm not saying he takes it for granted, but the big boys are different, and the intensity is different, and game plans are different. And once it started flowing downhill, Segs, and the dam broke, it was winging a prayer after that. Yeah. The fact that it was only 19-7 at one point, you start to think, this middle of the third quarter, could we start to see a flip? And Seattle's defense put a stop to it immediately. Made the critical errors. Darnold did not make the critical errors. And unfortunately, at that position, we always go coach and quarterback first, and then the rest. The New England Patriots team overall, offensively, looked like an amateur hour team last night for the most part.
And as Coach JB said, it could have been 28-0 at halftime. And the first half was on Sam Darnold, the fact that he had a couple throws that would have been touchdowns, I think most of the time for Sam Darnold, but he threw the one to Jackson Smith-Njigba right at the goal line, but he threw it behind him where Christian Gonzalez, almost made an interception. And I think that was the other thing. Christian Gonzalez has a chance at 2 or 3 interceptions in the game that hit him in both hands, and he wasn't able to come up with any of them.
Segs, 2 things. On the deep ball down the middle that Gonzalez jumped in front, the deep one over the top. The first big play Gonzalez made, And just to go to your point, Sam was late throwing the ball. You throw it out, you want him to run through it, not to slow up to get it.
Right.
And you can see he slowed up just a little bit. And then the other one, you're talking down at when he ran the bang post at the goal line that Christian Gonzalez jumped, he was forced. Sam was a second and a half late.
Yes.
That ball, we remember how I broke down the play. Jalen Hurts, middle of the field throw in the play, Segs that cost them. Same way, that bang post, that's got to be boom, boom, boom. Ball's got to be out. He held it a split second. If the ball's out on the break, that is a touchdown. He not only was late, but he threw it behind him, which allowed the defensive back to come in and make a play. If the ball's on time, and that was normally Darnold puts his foot in the ground and pumps it in there and makes a great throw. So, yes, nerves do matter when people say, man, they choke under pressure. Well, get in line. I said last week, too, didn't I say, Sig, somebody will come out a hero, Kenneth Walker, comes out, plays like it, the Seahawks defense. And you know what? Somebody will come out, somebody's going to choke and have one of those days where it just wasn't. And I can name a handful of people in the game, not in a negative way, but just in the true form of what choke means in a big moment, that the moment was part of the reason, aside from the fact that Seattle's defense makes it easy to choke or makes it easy to play poorly under pressure because, they're really friggin' good. And as far as epic defensive performances in the Super Bowl go, you can name players maybe more on other teams over the course of time that were bigger name players, but very few execute it like that team did. It looked like Spagnuolo's Giants. It looked like the Steelers. It looked like Baltimore Ravens defense. It looked like Tampa Bay smothering, great zone defense and rallying to the ball when they won their Super Bowl, meaning back when Monty Kiffin and John Gruden's team. So this Seattle defense was impressive in that game. And see, the opposite is they picked the best time to have their best game, and they've had a lot of them this year, where New England picked the wrong time to have their worst game in the Super Bowl offensively. They like I said earlier, they weren't just one-dimensional saves. They had no dimension last night.
Yeah.
The game was pretty much out of reach.
Yeah, two more points real quick about this game. Kirk Herbstreit was dead on when he said the Seattle defensive line was the best unit in this game. They were clearly the best unit in this game all game
By
long.
far.
And then adding in the blitzing defenders, the DBs or a linebacker here and there. The way Mike McDonald used the defensive line to hide his blitzes coming in, I thought was just a masterclass by Mike McDonald.
Yeah, didn't you see in masterclass times two? That's a TED talk right there, the way he performed last night. He put a game plan, but you know what I loved? A lot of guys are going like Vic Fangio last year. They didn't blitz at all in a Super Bowl. They just laid back and tackled you. They got enough pressure from their down guys and created havoc, and your tackles were beat up, and you got beat. And he was able to do it playing sound defense. And the Seahawks in the past played about 3 or 4 coverages. You caught it and tackled. Remember when Manning threw it like 50, sometimes like 35 completions in that game for it felt like 200 yards. They caught it. You tackled them. Seattle got out. The Legion of Boom. Last night, what I loved, starts out giving you the confusion he created. Witherspoon coming off and creating problems. And then after a few hits and sacks with that, they started getting pressure with 4 down. So he adjusted. It wasn't just one game plan. We're going to pressure, and hope they don't hit it. It was pressure, show pressure, drop out, rush 4, rush 7, give me 6, get to him with an inside where you an A and B gap with Witherspoon's coming all the way down inside. And the greatest thing about it is the discipline. Flip it to the other side, and you know my affinity for Mike Vrabel. The patience of Walker to hit the inside hole, like inside zone, hesitate, bounce. What happened was we talk about offensive players and quarterbacks wanting to be a hero and make all the great throws when they shouldn't make the throw, like the one Drake May threw down the middle. You can't make that hero ball throw. Check it down and let's move on to another day. Is that New England's defense, because of the success early rushing it by Walker in the offensive line, they got impatient. So what they do on inside, they jump down and try to make a tackle. And what do? Set you up, bounce. Set you up, let you overrun the hole, go one hole over. And then they didn't have outside contain, and the first guy making a hit is in the secondary after an 8, 9, 10-yard gain. So patience, but they lost contain and discipline. Alignment and assignment, you've been hearing it since you were in the first grade.
Yeah.
They got out of that when they got down, and they tried to play some hero ball defense, and it cost them with over pursuit and the patience of Kenneth Walker to challenge the interior and then be good when it was there and bounce, but also to bounce all the way outside to give himself some space to run and use up more series, more time, and more downs.
Yeah, and then the last point that I have, and I should have asked this while Coach JB was on, because you guys have talked about it a lot over the months that we've been, watching this football season. Mike McDonald did not use the analytics of going forward on fourth down. He just kicked field goals because he knew his defense was kicking ass, and he just kept kicking the field goals. Got up 12-0. You're up 2 scores. Yeah, 2 touchdowns. You're down, but
I don't care what those 2 scores look like. 12 still 2 scores. It doesn't have to be 2 touchdowns. It's 2 scores.
And your defense is doing what it was doing to Drake May and company. You just keep adding points to the board and then get something, and then boom, they get the touchdown, and then boom, they get the defensive touchdown on the quote unquote interception there on the sack and fumble interception for a touchdown.
12 points, Segs, at 12-point deficit. It felt like it was 32 points, 31 points.
Yes.
And I guarantee New England felt it too, because you're thinking 12 points, dude, 1 score, we get a 3 and out, we're right back at it. But it felt heavy.
Yeah.
It felt like it weighed heavy on them.
Mountain.
That no question, with just 12 points, like I said, if I don't care if it was 2 touchdowns and 2 missed extra points, 12 points, you still got to get in the end zone twice, or you're not beating me. But I said this on Friday, Segs, and I made an emphasis point of this. In breaking down this game, I said the one thing, either Thursday or Friday, I said the thing that's going to be, that you keep an eye on this game, with 2 defenses that thrive and 2 defensive head coaches, they will be judicious how to use fourth downs. They will take points because they trust that the exact quote, because they trust that their defense can get stops. You don't have to be greedy. And every time, and it was on both sides. On some of those times when it was pushing midfield and New England was 4th and 4, I could name you about 4 coaches that would have gone for it when they were down 12. Yeah. I'm dead serious. I'm dead ass serious, because their defense was playing pretty damn good football to keep the Seahawks out of the end zone. And when they were doing that, I'm thinking, you know what? They're saying, because they trust their defense, they're going to be smart and not get greedy. Now, New England got to a point where they had to come back, but it wasn't 5 and 6 go forward on fourth downs. And McDonald didn't feel like he needed to. Why? He watched the tempo of his defense and the way they were dominating. We got 4 field goals. He knew how heavy a burden that was on New England's offense. So you didn't have to. And who gave the other team the short field? New England and Seattle never gave New England the short field on a turnover. They gave on the strip sack fumble, the hit and fumble for a touchdown, and then 1 or 2 more times they gave them the short field with either return game or making a mistake that caught the interception or a return to get them back, where they didn't have to go 80 or 90 yards. And we knew going in, New England couldn't go 80 yards 5 times, let alone 2, and score touchdowns against Seattle's defense.
Well, I'm pretty sure Dixon, the punter, he put it inside the 5 3 times, if I remember correctly.
There may not be a better one in the world at doing what he did.
Yeah, so I mean,
he does it all year long.
The special teams showed up, kicker 5 for 5. The punter putting the ball inside the 5 multiple times.
There was about 4 or 5 MVPs in the game. The defense, Kenneth Walker, offensive line did a nice job pushing the run game. Both the kicker and the punter. I mean, you're not going to give it to the punter, but the kicker, hell, you could have said when it got to 12-0, the MVP was over. Why? Yeah. Because that lead felt insurmountable at the time, even though they ended up scoring 13 points. So he was dead on, and to kick 5 field goals and break that record, a hell of a performance. Don't take special teams for granted, because they actually came into play last night.
I mean, put it this way. If Sam Darnold came to play early and he was ready to go from the jump, this is a 45-3, maybe 7 game.
This is Steve Young's 49ers over the Chargers.
Right.
That's what this is. It's a full-blown, take you out to the woodshed aspect. And I got a lot of respect for New England, but Seattle was clearly the superior team in this game. Clearly.
Yeah. It was just I don't know, honestly, what was worse during the game.
It's crazy.
Was it Drake May or Bad Bunny?
Yeah, well, you could probably throw both into the unwatchable at times category. Segs, here's what happens now. Think about it. Your team it's a lot to celebrate. Your team was in a Super Bowl, right? You celebrate, but you don't sleep well, and you're a little bit miserable waking up today because you know what the next 6 or 7 months entail. And even when you win, you're waking up, you're hungover or celebrating the rest of it, and you'll take time to go back to work. But Segs, think about this. Hell, you were the number 2 seed. You had a hell of a year with you're a coach who's not a rookie coach, but his first year back in New England, a second-year quarterback. You're still trying to get your stuff right. Yet you're in the Super Bowl. Had a wonderful year, and now after that performance, it's gonna wear on you. Regardless if you say enjoy it, it was a successful year. Yes, of course, but those wins you got to get to that point, you won't even remember those. You're going to remember when we got to that point, we hit a stone cold wall that's so thick we couldn't get through it. We couldn't get around it. We couldn't jump over it. They let us do nothing. So that festers, and it's okay to fester. You should let it. You should allow it to bug the shit out of you for a minute, not for 6 months, because you got to get over the good hangover, because you got to get back to work and win a second one. If you're Seattle, you got to get over the, oh my gosh, we were offensively, and I hate to say it, was an embarrassing night for the New England Patriots, which you don't hear very often. And I won't say because I know how tough the game is, but that ability to garbage in and garbage out, you got to spit the garbage out eventually. But after all that success, the thing they will remember is what happened, because half that roster ain't ever seeing a Super Bowl again, more statistically, never seeing it again. They've got a lot of work to do, and a lot of it's going to end up being mental and emotional to deal with it. And I know people say it's not that big a deal. It's not real life. Well, it's your career. It is real life. Of course, it's real life because it's what you do for a living. So
yeah,
great. And I think congratulations to both, but congratulations to Seattle on an epic performance, especially defensively.
I think a lot of people just think, oh, it's New England, they'll get back, but it's not Tom Brady. It's not Bill Belichick. It's Vrabel and Drake May are good. They showed us they're good this year, but like you said, Don Shula, Dan Marino, Joe Burrow, I mean, he hasn't gotten close to getting back yet. And
well, Josh Allen and Lamar have never been.
Yeah, they've never been. So if they don't get there or get back, or they don't continue to help Drake May in terms of getting him better weapons, getting him often, Will Campbell has to take a step forward this offseason. It's a big offseason for him because he was awful at left tackle yesterday. Jared Wilson, the other rookie you mentioned, the left side, he struggled at times. So, I mean, they have to do something for this offense.
Walking the best athletes in the world on the edge, Segs. The rookie by yourself, it's so hard to do, even if you're Walter Jones or Jonathan Ogden or Anthony Munoz. It's hard to do. And look at that list of guys that were drafted, obviously, when Mayfield, Barkley, Darnold, and then Josh Lamar. You're talking about 4 really, really friggin' good players, a couple MVPs. But of all of them right now, and after all the shit that he's been through and dragged through, to be able to still stand up and do that and then come through like he did and protect the football. And Darnold knew going in that if he didn't put his defense in a bind, they had a legitimate chance to dominate the game. And they did. He did exactly what he needed to do in the Super Bowl. And congratulations to our SC Trojan, but the first one to win a Super Bowl. And it couldn't happen to a classier or better dude, especially through all of it, never made an excuse. And I think it served him well. Never made an excuse.
Yeah, great season for the Seahawks. One more thing before we get out of here. The NFL, great week, great weekend. They came out, they talked about all their new international games, blah, 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 everything that happened with the Super Bowl. And then we get over the weekend an unfortunate story involving Atlanta Falcons rookie James Pierce. He is, his ex, Rakia Jackson, who's a WNBA player. They get into some altercation. She gets in her car and leaves. He chases her in his, I think it was a Lamborghini. He's hitting the car that she's in, trying to ram her off the road. Then the cops get involved. He's trying to run over police officers. According to reports, it takes 7 police officers to bring this guy to the ground and get him cuffed because he is an NFL defensive end. These guys are not small. So this guy was at the NFL honors because he was a defensive rookie of the year candidate. He was up for
finalist.
There you go. And didn't win the award. And then this happens just a few days later. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that continues to happen with these young players. And it's a dark stain on the NFL that it continues to happen. And these guys don't see real consequences. He was in jail. He bonded out, I think, about 20 grand. And now we'll see what happens. But, I mean, these are some serious charges he's going to be facing. And if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you gave up a first-round pick to come back into the first round last year and get this guy. It's a bad look for James Pierce. and it puts the Falcons in a tough situation with their young
and a new head
stars.
coach that's going to have to make a decision.
And yep, I was just going to say Ian
And an
Cunningham,
organization.
Matt Ryan, Ian Cunningham, and Kevin Stefanski all come in as new to this story. Basically, I mean, they just completed these three.
Yeah, welcome to being an executive and a coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
This is one of the first things you got to deal with. Yeah.
And I'm sure you've been in locker rooms where guys have gotten in trouble with the law. How do you handle this if you're a leader in this clubhouse? If you're, if you're whoever, Drake London or if Grady Jarrett was there, I'd say him, but someone else on the Falcons, how do you handle this situation with this young player?
Great point, Segs. First off, I've just never understood. Mistakes happen. But Jesus, as a celebrity that people know, and judging his size and everything, how do you get to the point? At what point in time, unless, and I'm not saying he was, alcohol, drugs, people die. I don't know, what's going on in his mind at the time it's going on, what makes him see red and all that. I just wonder when it comes to kids and women and the physicality of it. At some point, aren't you thinking everybody's watching, there's tapes rolling, it could ruin my career, let alone hurt somebody, which is most important. I at some point in time, I know that what you say, Sean, well, we've all been mad that we're frustrated. But there has to be that line where you say, man, my frustration, this is different now. You've crossed over the line, whether it's a significant other, a wife, a woman. That's not going to remain private. You don't get that. And then you're doing it out in public where my thing is the mental acute. What are you thinking about when you do the physical and then battle cops? It's not going to end well. You never win in that. So that's aside. I just don't, there's kids, everybody's watching. At what point in time, well, the woman might have said something. Segs, I got to tell you, buddy, there's nothing a woman can say. Now, the woman's beating a kid and harming a kid. Well, then you go and do what you got. But what can a woman say to get you to that point where you say, I'm going to ruin my career. I'll take this up with people. We'll stop. We'll take it. We'll go back and we'll have this conversation. What makes you think that nobody's going to see and that this is a good thing for your life, career, for your family, for your girl? I don't care what somebody says. There's nothing that could say, especially if it's a female or a kid, right? I just don't get it. The other side of it, I'll tell you how you handle it in the locker room, Segs, and you have no choice. Now, there's the initial stage is he's your teammate every day. You're around him as much as your family. I put my arm around him and hug him and hope he's okay. I would, because I don't know what's going on. And I'm not saying that's a hall pass to do what he did at all.
Right.
But I know this. I'd treat it like it was a family member. Tell you get it all down. I'm going to give you love anyway. I love you regardless. You're my teammate. Now, you may have done something stupid. We all have. Doesn't mean I don't love you anymore. Now once the initial I love you, now we got to get into some tough love. If you were Ray Lewis in Baltimore, the reason I say that because Ray's always been, and I know he had his issues, but in the locker room, I'm talking about widely well known as a great leader. Or if you're in mine, when Jimmy Mack was there, or I can go through when Warren Moon was in our locker room, guys who people listen to when they open their mouth. Does that make sense, Segs? So there's initial, you're my guy, I got you. And then there's the away from there, can I come to your house and sit down and talk with you? What can I do to help? You don't want it to be like, I'm telling you everything's right because you're human. So there's that sense of it. It's weird. It's a crazy dynamic, but I know this. What would you do with a family member? You'd console, help, do everything, show love to the family member. Then get to the bottom of the issue. Is there a deeper seated issue? Is there something you got to be careful for to protect him from himself? Is there something to protect him in a relationship? You can't do it all, but it all starts with compassion towards that guy, even just in private. Now, somebody comes out and you know the facts, and the guy's was hitting on beating on somebody, or in any situation where caused somebody harm. Then the tough love. But I'm not there to be judge and jury and put him. That's for the people who are above my pay grade to do. My job is to, as a friend, as a leader, to show him that I care because he's part of the family. As a difference maker, it's to prevent it from happening again, and how can I help? And then the legal part of it. Listen, Segs, I ain't the judge. I can't help him with the legal part, right? You can help him, if he needs some help, try to pick out who should represent all those things. But usually when this happens out in the open world like we saw it, there feels to me like there's always something deeper seated or the reason. So the last thing you want to do is berate him. That's going to happen enough. You got to, and I'm not saying it's okay. I get why people would, but You got to get to the deeper seated, whatever it is, whatever the deep part of the issue is, so it doesn't happen again, because the next time it could end a lot worse for somebody.
Yeah.
Whether it's him or the people he was involved with his scuffle with, his significant other and anybody else involved.
Yeah, he was charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. He was charged with aggravated stalking and then also fleeing, eluding police.
What makes you think, Segs, if you're clear-headed, if you are clear-headed, what makes you do that? Yeah, see, that's the problem. None of us would be able to figure it. A psychologist would have a hard time figuring that one out. Right.
And he faces a minimum of 5 years if convicted of any of those felonies that I
You rob Peter, you got to pay Paul if that's the case, Segs. I mean, that's just part of it. Sometimes that deep, tough, the problem is in society now, we are more apt to say, oh, it'll be okay, as opposed to protect the woman and the kids. I'm just in any case, I'm not just talking about in this case, in any case, from harm. That's got to be the number one priority of any of us, to make sure women and children are safe and animals and the rest of it. And then you work your way out. It's like you work your way inside out, Segs. That's the way it works. And I'm not there. I don't know him. Hopefully somebody's already reached out, friends of his, and put their arm around him the right way, not to enable him, but to let him know there's help, whatever that help is.
Yeah. And this happened in Florida, which we know that's a different animal.
Always
down there.
something.
And it's 1st-degree felony of trying to basically run over a police officer. That's aggravated battery against a police officer. That's mandatory sentence if convicted.
And everything that's going on, Segs, you have a police officer in your family, your pops, and the rest of it, everything that's gone on in our country, there's sensitivity to both sides of it, the public side and the first responders and police officers and whoever it is, they're there. Never more than now, you start to chase down cops or people like that and do it like that and try to run over, that becomes a major issue. And we've seen it recently in the news, as we've well seen, in a different way than what happened to him over the weekend.
Yeah, and it just is going to come to a point for the NFL to say enough is enough. That
automatic suspension if it's true.
A 2-game suspension isn't enough. A 6-game suspension isn't enough. If you're going to go this far into something that is felonies where you're facing possibly 5 to 20 years in prison, then obviously if you go to prison, you're suspended a lot longer because you're in prison and you're not playing. But there needs to come a point that, if something like this you're convicted of, the NFL needs to come down much harder and say you're out. Or
instead of going into some interview, right, say, here's the rules. If you are found legally, not by illegally, that this happened, we're not going to come in and you sit across from me with remorse after it happened. Yeah. Your remorse is going to come from and the only way I know for athletes that have done wrong or people with money is to hit them. What they love to do is what? Play their sport or their whatever it is they're doing and hit them in the wallet. And a 1-game suspension for $25,000 does not affect them. They can go sign autographs for $50,000. So it just doesn't. So if it's true and if it happens, you got to set up, hey, when you walk into this office, you're already suspended for 6 games or whatever it is without pay. Now, how you adjust to me in this interview, if you're the commissioner or the person who's putting down the rule, now how you would go remorse from here will decide whether we're going to go 8 games or you're done for the year, put your hands on or a police officer, a federal situation, and a significant other and/or kids, whatever comes into play. But we ain't going down, dude. If it's proven that you did it wrong, then here's your floor. Yeah. There's the 6. So no going in that that's exactly right. You don't get it better because we let it off. The only way I know how to send a message is you got to send it hard or once is not enough. And it becomes a problem.
I mean, you could add in things like, okay, something like this happens where if it's a felony or if you want to go 3 misdemeanors or whatever it is, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a quarterback, a punter,
doesn't matter,
defensive end. You automatically lose all your guaranteed money. That's gone. So then now the team has full control over
that'll scare them straight.
Yeah. And then you talk suspension, which takes even more money out of their pocket. So I just think, because I don't think we're ever going to see a time where a team's not giving a guy a second chance that can be as good as a guy like James Pierce, or if it's a quarterback that's really good in the league or a star player,
that
even
gets a
if
different
even if
look
that
at it.
team, whoever, if they're with the Bears and the Bears are like, hell no, I don't care that you're this person. You did this, you're out of our organization. We know another team will pick them up because it's happened time and time and time again. But it's just, you just got to start hitting them in the pocket hard and
take it away
at
what they
some
love to
point-
do.
Yes.
I know
So-
this, Eggs. I know this. Just stop, collaborate, and listen. Okay.
Stop. Yes.
Anything less than your best is a felony. Okay. Give Vanilla Ice some respect on the fact that he gets entered into this show.
And
Stop, collaborate, and listen. Okay.
Major announcement for tomorrow's show. It will be all in Spanish. I speak no Spanish, so I probably won't be on this show.
So you're going to be all ears and not understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just say, what is it, like, por qué? What's that mean?
Yeah, that's why. Why or because? Yeah, why or because?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever you say,
Well,
I'll just say
so,
por qué.
so,
And then you got to keep going.
Hola.
Hola.
Hola. Yeah. You know, hola? It's like, ¿Cómo te llamas, Adam? Me llamo Pepe. Okay, that's who I was in Spanish in school. Pepe. Instead of Sean, because there was already a Juan in class, I was Pepe. Yeah. So yeah, we're just so you see. We're going to have what's it called when they have
subtitles?
The subtitles, right? Subtitles for the show tomorrow because we're doing it on. The only way I know how to do that is turn it over to the Bad Rabbit. Segs.
Yeah.
Bad Rabbit will get it done for you. Okay. Even if
I'll
you
just
don't
be
watch
like him, and I'll just say A like 9,836 times. Just you'll be talking, I'll just be like, hey.
You'll get we'll all get the point of what you mean.
He just says it a billion times.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean,
no doubt.
Whatever. I'm glad that's over.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a guest on our show anytime soon. So I'm glad it's over too.
No.
Where are we at? Where's Super Bowl next year?
I'm not sure.
Yes, New Orleans, Tampa, Atlanta, or
Vegas.
One of those. Is it Vegas next year?
February 14th. It's on Valentine's Day. Nope. SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California.
There you go. Okay, so get prepared. There you go.
So LA, you can't do. I mean, you got a lot of things you could do in LA.
There's a lot of music. You got a lot of music to choose from there. No doubt.
Oh no.
No doubt. See. Good stuff. Congrats to the Seahawks, though, Segs, with a hell of a night for
hell of a game, hell of a night, hell of a season. And
sure was. Good on my boy Sam. Way to go. Fight on, brother.
Yep. Congrats to USC. Finally get that quarterback Super Bowl win. You know who doesn't have a Super Bowl win?
Me?
For quarterback? No, for quarterbacks, I mean, as school, that you would kind of be surprised, just like USC? Ohio State.
It's pretty amazing considering all
as a starter, as a starting quarterback, never won a Super Bowl.
Then Mike Tomczak. I mean, you go through a lot of them. Yeah. I mean, Art Schleicher was a hell of a player when he came out, but then we know that how that ended, unfortunately, for Art with the gambling stuff. But you start to roll through all the great players. It's probably it feels like it's shocking, like USC. In truth, we probably had more. Yeah. We've obviously had more Heisman Trophy quarterbacks with Leinart and guys that are in contention for it. But yeah, certain things are odd, man, that you don't get. Sam finally put that to rest, so we don't have to deal with that anymore. So that's a good thing.
All right. Well, you know what kicks off not tomorrow, Wednesday, I believe. MLB spring training officially kicks off. So we got that. We got a lot of good college basketball. I don't know if you saw North Carolina, Duke. North Carolina, Seth Trimble hits the buzzer beater to take down Duke. Not Carlos Boozer, his sons. Now I'm gonna blank on the Boozer's kid's name, but he was tremendous throughout the game. But North Carolina came back and won. Michigan State beats Illinois. We had some really good. Houston beats BYU. We had a ton of good basketball this weekend. And
the Detroit Tigers got a couple left-handers that are getting paid. Stuff we'll be talking about too.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Yeah, Scooble gets his $32 million instead of 19 that the Tigers.
How'd you like that arbitration? Yeah, how's that game? That's not a bad deal, huh?
Yeah. So we got a ton to talk about. Tomorrow we'll talk about the Tony Dungy, Rodney Harrison kind of.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. We can get that tomorrow because that may be a good standalone by itself tomorrow. So
we could keep the Hall of Fame talk going with the Randy Moss, what he had to say about voters for the Hall of Fame. And then just a fun story. Bill Belichick's girlfriend wearing a shirt that has to do with Robert Kraft. We could talk about that tomorrow as well. Plus, there'll be other stuff. I saw all kinds of stories that I need to even go through my Twitter and just be like, yeah, this is worth talking about. I saw some funny videos. We'll have some fun this week now that the Super Bowl's over. Start getting into some baseball, some college basketball. Look ahead
and
to
all
the
season
offseason
football,
for
college,
football.
and the NFL.
Yeah.
Big between now and the draft, no doubt.
Yep, Combine's just 2 weeks away, so we got a ton to talk about still, even though the football season's over. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Go like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Unpaved Sean Salisbury. Thanks to Bailey and Laura as always. Follow Sean at Sean Unfiltered, me at Adam G. Sager. Thanks to all our listeners and viewers. We'll be back tomorrow. Peace.
Unpaved Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.